welcome to Lucky Finds Part 2. Two of my favorite finds over the years were Native American artifacts that dated to the late Woodland period, about 1400 to 500 years ago. It was a very hot and humid summer morning. I was doing some digging for artifacts while swatting mosquitoes away, hordes of them that were intent on driving me out of my mind. This was at my old Benetton Creek site in Oscoda, Michigan. I had not been digging long when my mother-in-law, Gladys Marks, was coming down the trail to where I was excavating. Gladys is the type of Christian whose face just seems to radiate the love of Jesus Christ. We began talking, and I continued, and as I continued digging, and after but a few minutes, I let out a large gasp. There, barely missed by my shovel, was a 7-inch long gray stone knife made of Bayport nodular chert, one of the most beautiful that I had ever found. And I remember how excited Gladys was as I took the piece from the ground, the first person to hold that item in maybe as many as 1,400 years. Another time at the same site of Old Benetton Creek, and maybe 3 to 4 feet from where I found the knife, I found an awesome item. On this day, I had my son Dennis with me, and I am thinking he was maybe 5 or 6 years old at the time. I was digging into a hearth, and the soil was deep black with a waxy feel to it. I found many bones, attesting to the last meal which had been cooked on this particular hearth. I found 16 pottery shards, and I put them into a collection bag. This turned out to be a very rare find. I was able to assemble the pieces of about almost 95% of the pot. Pots from that area are, as a rule, smashed from centuries of freezing and thawing, as well as the action of roots. That little pot is the only near-complete pot I have ever seen from that area of Michigan. I had been offered a goodly sum of money for it, but declined. In retrospect, knowing what happened to the pot, it would have been better to sell it. You see, my ex-wife and I divorced, and she grabbed as many personal items of mine as she could, and I guess that made her feel as though she had some special power over me. As soon as we divorced, she had a man move in with her, and her and my children, actually, and he was insanely jealous and took to destroying things which were mine, including that reassembled pot. I hate calling names, but what an asshole, both of them. I believe this was a child's pot, as it was only about 3 inches tall and about 3 inches wide. It had incised on the surface decoration, and it was pretty much the shape of a bell turned upside down. A truly fascinating piece. Lastly was a most beautiful dark green celt, which I recovered in perfect, pristine condition. This find was again at Old Benetton Creek, and it was just awesome. It was a brisk fall morning, but very gray and overcast, the way I like it. There was a sting to the breeze as it crossed over my face. I had gone out even though I was feeling a bit sick, to my stomach actually. Part of the Old Benetton Creek site sits atop a 20-foot bluff. Now, I might add here that I was also feeling sort of lightheaded. Well, my stomach turned out to be the flu, and my mouth began that horrible salivating that you do before you throw up. I dropped to my knees and began violently puking. At that point, everything seemed as though it was slowly spinning around. I decided it would be best if I got back to my truck and home, and getting up the toe of my shoe caught on an exposed root, and I tumbled over the edge and began an unchecked roll down the ancient bank some 20 feet. Well, actually, about 15 feet, because at 15 feet my roll was stopped by an encounter with the trunk of a large oak tree. And I had been carrying my shovel, and it came to rest about 3 feet from me. I reached the shovel and stuck it in the ground so I could balance myself getting up. And as soon as I did, the shovel flipped, and I fell with my face only inches from the hole that my shovel had made. I could hardly believe what I saw there. There was a dark green celt. I picked it up and examined it. It was perfect. The bit was sharpened without a flaw. Why wouldn't it have been? Why would it have been discarded? It must have taken tremendous amount of effort to make, and investment in time also. I wonder sometimes why perfect pieces seem to have been tossed away. Whatever reason, it was a remarkable find to be sure. It was about 8 inches long and about 4 inches wide. There were many other Native American Indian artifacts that I have found and still find, and some are quite awesome to me. But this, the stone knife, and the pot are my 3 very favorite finds.